Welcome to Roundhouse Roulette, a Walker, Texas Ranger podcast. Now, normally we recap and review bone-crushing episodes of Walker, Texas Ranger, but today we're excited to bring you a very special bonus episode. I'm Evan Dalton here with my brother Adam and our fellow Walker fanatic, Mr. Bob Leahy. How's it going, guys?
Oh, dude, just living the dream.
Doing good, real good.
Well, today we have a very special guest. It is our artist, friend, and collaborator, Adam Lauritsen. Now, if you've been following us on social media, you've been seeing the amazing Walkerstrations he's been crafting for each of our podcast episodes. I think it's safe to say that nobody has quite captured Walker's essence in illustration as finely as he has.
You are too kind. Oh my gosh. Well, thanks for having me on, fellas. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
I got to give you a shameless plug here. Now, you go by at Imagination Run Amok on Instagram.
On Instagram, unfortunately, Twitter doesn't allow me to have that long of a username or a user handle, so I just go by my original alias, Adam Lauritsen.
We're honored you were able to take the time to check in with us from your fine studio out there in the Buckeye State of Ohio.
I am in Iowa.
I don't even know what Iowa is. It's not the land of Lincoln, that's Illinois, but Iowa is close enough. You guys probably have some connection to Lincoln. Did he sleep there one night or?
Oh man, no. Well, I'll just say this: we are maybe top 4, top 5 in COVID right now. So that's what we've made our name for recently. I'm currently living in Dubuque, which is right on the Mississippi, and I guess if you wanted to say it had a near miss. It was almost Detroit at one point, but there was a carriage works in town at the turn of the century, and apparently Henry Ford came by and said, "Hey, we want to start building cars here. You have the infrastructure." And the top guy, Coolidge, kind of looked at him and said, "Nah, cars are just going to be a crazy fad." So that was a
whoops. Well,
one of the biggest missed opportunities in history.
I see you're kind of contributing to the problem there. You're not wearing a mask right now.
Yeah, I guess I'm really not helping the situation.
Yeah, come on. You got to be part of the solution here, all right?
I am currently drinking alcohol, so I am sanitizing. Does that work?
That's good. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that you are not missing the boat on the next big thing, which is Walker, Texas Ranger podcasts. So, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
So we thought it would be fun to run chronologically through your Walkerstrations, a proverbial Roundhouse Roulette greatest hits, if you will.
Oh,
but
wonderful.
I guess first we'd like to hear a little bit about what drew you to illustration and the path that you chose to become a Jedi Master.
Oh man, how do I keep this succinct?
Please do.
Please do. I'll just say that I've always been interested in art. I had good friends in elementary school that were really fantastic artists, and so that was always something I was interested in. The comic bug really hit me probably around 11 or 12. My dad brought home some sort of comic book grab bag from Sam's Club, and I remember my first comic. It was The Amazing Spider-Man, the giant-sized issue 350 with Eric Larson, and man, that was it for me. So I've always been a big fan of comics and illustration. Ended up majoring in graphic design and illustration in college from the fine folks at the University of Northern Iowa. And I've been doing it professionally and semi-professionally for the last over 20 years at this point.
What was it about Spider-Man that drew you in? Pun intended, of course.
Well, I think part of it was the story of the guy that was not going to get it right all the time, but the guy who wanted to try to get it right all the time. That was the big hook for me. And then the art was just absolutely banana nut bread. It was just so over the top, and I loved every single ink stroke. It was just, chef's kiss.
Yeah, I feel like Spider-Man was kind of a creative unleashing point for a lot of comic book artists.
Absolutely. A lot of people plugged into that. And I think that if I had to cite, another big influence, and I'm 41, so a lot of artists my age were really influenced by Calvin and Hobbes. So that comic strip was just absolutely flawless, both in illustration technique and story and punchlines. It was just nearly flawless. And it holds up today, which is the crazy thing. A lot of comics get dated very quickly, especially, editorial cartooning, of course. But when you have something that defies a time capsule, that's something really special.
Kind of like Walker, Texas Ranger, right?
Oh, absolutely. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you when you guys approached me to do this, like, the premise of the podcast is great. I'm like, I'm on board. My brother and I would do Bad Movie Night, every week. It was so this was definitely my wheelhouse. But when you sent me the first episode, I could not believe it. I could not believe it. Well, I mean, somebody on the crew must have had a family member that owned an oil rig. Or I don't know how you do that and then cut the entire episode with different oil rigs. It's just, it was so crazy. And the budgets just kept growing, like season after season. I just went, how much money are they going to start pouring into the show? But it was fantastic. And so from the start of that episode, I was all in. It was absolutely fantastic. And I can't thank you guys enough for doing this.
Skillful editing of stock footage.
Yes, precisely.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, that could be the tagline for the entire show, I suppose.
Well, we often say that the producers of Walker, Texas Ranger, I mean, they really, speaking of imagination run amok, they really rely upon the viewers having a bit of an imagination to sort of connect the dots between one scene to the next.
That's just good comic writing right there.
So when we cut away, you'll assume that this explodes.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Precisely. I don't know what their budget was for Dynamite, but God bless them.
Yeah, the first thing I remember seeing of yours was on Instagram when you were doing the Post-it Note series. What kind of made you do that?
Honestly, so I had done a series of Post-it Notes. I've seen it was kind of a trend that was happening on Instagram at the time. After a small hiatus, I was just getting my wheels under me as far as illustration was concerned. And it was a low bar of entry. So it's a Post-it Note. They're, fractions of a cent. I'm not working with great art materials at this point. It's ballpoint pen and a Post-it. And that was, the barrier for entry was so low and there were no stakes. And for getting up and running on anything, that's a great situation to be, to just be able to have the freedom to mess up and put it out there. And, I don't have this big Instagram following, and that's okay. But I had no Instagram following at that point. And to be able to just put it out there and have people start trickling in through the hashtags, it was a great way to build confidence and kind of build my underdrawing. And it was a good discipline because I was doing it absolutely every day.
Yeah, I like the way that you use the constraint of a square in some fashions, like to your benefit, when you're like, yes. Oh, well, I've got these edges and it can only go this far. What were some of the things you learned from doing that? Constraints
absolutely help you, especially starting out, because you can get overwhelmed very quickly. And sometimes the dimensions, they dictate certain things that you can do. And it's your job to first find out what those are and then start kind of pushing those boundaries and seeing what laws you can break and still have somebody be invested in what you're doing. So when we were doing this, I was like, oh, Adam, he kind of did this, what we're trying to do, have like a square comic book panel of Walker every week. That kind of brings it all together. So that was one of the reasons I was like, oh, I thought you'd be a good fit for it. Yeah, I have to thank you for kind of coaching me a little bit there's so much happening in every single episode. I started doing Drew Struzman type movie posters for every illustration. And Adam was coaching me saying, okay, walk it back, sir. It's okay. You don't have to put the entire episode in because why would you want to? No. Don't feel obligated. And I went, okay. Thank goodness, because these boat chases are just absolutely bananas.
Yeah, I mean, there's like always so many different ridiculous things that happened. I don't know how you did it, but you worked them all in together, but I can only imagine how much juggling that would be once you were like, oh yeah, just one of those scenes, then you can really dive into it.
Yeah, otherwise it becomes a high bandwidth problem.
Yeah.
For sure.
So you've got a great series of pet commissions on Instagram as well. I noticed you put a lot of sort of human-like features onto those animals, kind of like Bill Watterson, I guess. Is that kind of your goal?
It's a case-by-case basis. So for the pet commissions that actually came out of, we lost one of our beagles around that time when I started doing those commissions, and it was kind of a therapeutic thing that I was doing for myself, and honestly we're paying down a little bit a few of the vet bills, and I was really shocked by the response to those. Because they're commissions, I give a certain amount of leeway with the patron if they're looking for something a little bit more fun and comic booky. I did one for a fellow artist, Becky Jewell, who wanted her poodle to be a super sleuth, and so that I pushed that way over to the cartoony realm. But some people are looking to simply pay tribute to their pets that are passed away. Sometimes, a lot of times they end up being gifts. It all depends on what comes my way, and I got to tell you, the mix, the variety of requests that come in are absolutely fabulous. And I would never have probably put a pit bull and a Doberman Pinscher in a land speeder in the Star Wars universe, but that was one of my requests. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's very rewarding, surprisingly. I didn't think it was going to take off the way it did.
No, it's awesome.
So legend has it that you're working on your own graphic novel. Can you disclose any details with regards to that? Or
I suppose if I wanted to push a log line out into the universe, it would be a video game hero becomes disillusioned with his reality, ignores the call to action, and puts the entire multiverse in peril. And along the way, he has to face enemies, friends, and himself. So if I wanted to be as succinct as possible,
yeah,
that's kind of the jam. It's all taking place, at least this first chapter, in a video game universe. So we've got a very grumpy, not quite anti-hero, but nearly, and he's having an existential crisis, and that's where we find him. So I'm in production right now. I've got the first few pages laid out, penciled, inked, and colored, so I'm in the big swing of it, and it's just going to be a grind until the end. So that's just kind of how graphic novel production goes. It's just once you have your story put into place, it's just chewing glass for a while. But I think we've all had those scenarios where, you have a project that you knew was going to be big, and then it ends up being way bigger than you thought.
Yeah.
And you're in it, and you got to go for it. So, but thankfully, I've taken this year, hell of a year to be trying to do this. It's really, it is no joke to do creative arts in 2020 right now. But, yeah, I've been fortunate enough to be working on it full time, and I can't wait to share it with the world. It'll be really exciting. I'll probably be pushing the first chapter of it out, I suppose, in the next month or so.
Okay, so that's how you're going to release it.
Yep, on the web.
Oh, it's going to be all digital kind of thing?
To start, and then I suspect I'll be running a Kickstarter for the print version.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well,
self-publishing first, and then we'll see where it goes from there.
So even if DC comes knocking, you'd entertain offers?
Boy, if DC has a weird new imprint, then yes, I'd be totally willing. But yeah, we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting to see if we get bites on it.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, dude, we're looking forward to it, and let us know when you got the Kickstarter rocking and when it comes out.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely.
Well, speaking of reluctant heroes fighting friends and all of that, I can't think of something that's perhaps more opposite to that. Diametrically opposed to that than Walker, who is the anti-hero. Leaves ambiguity behind him as he roundhouse kicks his way to a more just, safe world.
He really is. I mean, it's high noon, but turned up to 11. That's all I can say about this show.
Yeah, well, I couldn't help but think as you were describing the validity of Spider-Man that Walker's like Superman. You know what I mean? There's no question that he's going to win every single time, you know? He doesn't even have to try.
Doesn't leave a lot to the imagination, does he?
No, he doesn't have a kryptonite either.
No.
So had you seen Walker, Texas Ranger before? What was your initial introduction to Walker?
No, I remember Walker, Texas Ranger back in the day, seeing it on television. I wasn't at my television every single, was it a Thursday night on CBS? I feel like that's maybe what it was.
He was on the weekends, like Saturdays at some point, which it was kind of like I think they treated it kind of like a movie event on Saturdays, and he didn't really have to compete with anybody.
Did they do a Saturday sandwich where they had that in the evening and they did the Karate Commandos in the
probably
in the mornings? I don't know if anybody listening remembers this, but there was a 5 there were 5 episodes of this Mr. T like cartoon called Chuck Norris and the Karate Commandos, and it was special. It was really. You think it was bad? The stereotypes in Walker, Texas Ranger are bad. Oh no, they pale in comparison to Karate Commandos.
Oh man,
so bad.
Apparently he had like a live action thing in there too, of like him teaching like a lesson in real life, and then it goes to cartoon, right?
It was the G.I. Joe morality tale sort of thing. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, I think that's sort of one of the greatest failures of Chuck Norris is that, unlike a lot of the other people like Schwarzenegger or just some of those other action stars, like even Mr. T, they were far more marketable than Chuck Norris. And it's mostly because Chuck Norris, he acts throughout all those movies the same way he does through Walker, Texas Ranger. And I think the reason Walker lasted for so long is because he was a producer of the show.
Yeah, I mean, well, honestly, dude, like Chuck Norris' life is insane. He was like in the Air Force. He then like moved to like Hollywood and started dojos.
Friends with Bruce Lee.
Yeah, and then he kind of worked his way into the movies, and then he got all his brother and kids' jobs on his productions, and then was like, well, now I can start my own show for like 8 seasons and do all the stuff that I've been working on my whole life. And he did it all without a father. I mean, it's kind of like his life would be an awesome biopic, but they already kind of did that with Walker, as we discovered. So
I do have to say, Chuck Norris, not afraid of licensing anything. Absolutely anything. I mean, okay, full disclosure for your audience, you guys were all wonderful enough to send me the 4 issues of Chuck Norris, Karate Commando, the comic book, illustrated by the legendary Steve Ditko. I have to thank you for it. Read through all of them, and
yeah,
they were just
garbage.
Something.
They were just a dumpster fire of a production. It's like they made 5 animated shows. They couldn't get through 4 comic books. They had to terminate it at 4. And boy, that, like, the first one was like if you had the last 30 minutes of Stripes with Chuck Norris. That was the first issue. And then the second issue was something like Magnum PI, but with Chuck Norris.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, it was wonderfully cut and paste and just a wonderful cultural time capsule from the 80s. I loved every page. I loved it.
They're like, well, we have a cartoon. We got to have a comic book, too.
Yes.
That's the only
and
reason. And
action figures and the whole bit. Then you had his workout. I can't say DVDs at that point. It was VHS.
Yeah.
And then,
he did cigars.
Was he doing something with Suzanne Summers, too?
Yeah, that was the Total Gym.
Total Gym.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Evan.
Yeah. I mean, does that help you get through the tough times as an illustrator when maybe you're feeling it, and then you're like, man, even Ditko had to do Karate Commandos.
I do. It really helps. Have a legend like that go. It's a living.
Oh man. What's the name of the kid in that? It's like Too Much. Like, he doesn't have a name, right? He's just like,
Too Much.
You're Too Much.
His name is Too Much. The creative team couldn't be bothered.
Yeah.
Is that kind of like
with calling him Bobby?
Yeah. Right. Anything.
Or Kenny or something.
Were they trying to go off of was it a short round? Was this around the same time as
It may have been around the same time. Because it was, I want to say it was like 86.
I also got a set of that for myself. And
Good on you.
I powered through all 4 issues, and it was complete garbage. But yeah, there was one like ending to it where they just like kicked the crap out of a bunch of people, and then Chuck's like, "Nope, you got to go read that book" or something at the end. It was like
it was the very end. They had just battled ninjas with guns, and all of a sudden it's nope, back to your studies. Too much.
Yeah, well, that rounds up our Q&A with the illustrator. When we come back, we'll get Adam's reactions to past episodes by way of his Walkerstrations. If you're not driving, you can follow along with us on our Instagram feed at Roundhouse Roulette or our website, roundhouseroulette.com, where all of Adam's action-packed episode comicizations are hosted. But if you are driving, we'll do our best to describe each skull-splitting, high-kicking delight. Don't go away. Welcome back. Our guest today is Adam Lauritsen. We thought now was a perfect time to have him come on in and revisit the custom Walker Texas Ranger illustrations he's made for each one of our podcasts. If you're making your way through our back catalog of podcasts, this just might help you pick up your next one. Mm-hmm. And the first one is Chuck Norris with an environmental terrorist in a... Is that a half Nelson? Is that a full Nelson? Maybe it's neither. It's just a sleeper hold, something like that.
Sure.
Yeah, I'd say sleeper hold.
And this one is the only one we didn't put up on Instagram because it was around the time, when unfortunately the police were killing people with chokeholds.
I appreciate you doing that very much so.
Yeah.
However, I mean, this is Walker. He's taking out a bad guy as only he knows how. And I believe, Bob, doesn't he like snap this guy's neck?
Oh, yeah.
In the episode?
With great sound effects.
Great Foley work.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it was like a guy with a bag of chips.
Pork rind.
Anyways, this is a pretty sick illustration, to say the least.
It's awesome. You've got like the oil rig back there, the exploding helicopter that, I mean, I think they showed like, they overlaid like an explosion over stock footage of like a helicopter or something in the
looked like laser cats.
So good. Yeah.
100%.
They spent all their budget renting the oil rigs. So.
For sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that we were discussing that was kind of the limitation for him not doing any roundhouse kicks because he was on an oil rig. He could just like flipped himself off.
Right. If it's an active oil rig, you're supposed to have 3 points of contact. A roundhouse, depending on the roundhouse, it's either got 1 or 0 points of contact. So
until impact, of course.
Right.
Right. Moving on to Roundhouse Roulette episode 2 here. And we've got the Patriot, once again, was dealing with a very topical issue of white supremacy.
I did not mind having Trevette punch out a Nazi on this illustration. I did not expect these illustrations to be so topical, but boy.
Yeah, off the bat. I mean, it seemed like the first few episodes are all like dealt with race and everything we're going through right now. They're more pertinent than ever.
Yeah, we will say that punching Nazis is one of our favorite Walker Texas Ranger tropes on the show. So,
second favorite trope, the Delta Force black onesie. Boy, we had a string of those, didn't we?
We've got episode 3, The Neighborhood. And this was a, I don't know, West Side Story meets Walker Texas Ranger. This one was pretty out there.
Oh, the child resurrection.
Yep.
That was pretty special. I do have to say, the character actors of the gang members did a really fantastic job. I was actually pretty impressed by those actors. They did a decent job with that. I was really surprised by those guys.
Yeah, and Evan, did you say one of the guys was like in like this Black Scorpion 2 or something like that?
Yeah, the gang leader guy who, as you pointed out, Adam, was pulled it off really well. He seemed really unstable and like, you were on edge whenever he was on the scene. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he plays one of the bad guys in this really, really, really like C-grade movie, superhero movie called, I think, like Black Scorpion or something like that.
Yeah. We've got the trailer to it on our on roundhouseroulette.com on the episode page.
Oh my god, you got
the neighborhood. So.
Anyone who hears this has to do themselves a favor and just watch that. Like, I don't think you have to watch the movie. You just have to see like this 2 minutes.
Just do your due diligence and go to the website, check out the trailer. Please.
Yeah, I mean, it's like 2 minutes, and you'll never get those 2 minutes back, but I don't think you'll mind. And this is, as you were saying earlier, Adam, this is like your take on this really is sort of like a movie poster where you're kind of bringing in all these characters, because this was a pretty epic episode with many characters and plot lines, so hard to sum it all up in an illustration.
Case in point, this next one is our fourth podcast, Iceman.
The Iceman. Oh, yes.
And this one starred
the microwave.
Oh, I love that microwave.
It did.
That could have been the main star of the microwave. But it had the guy who who plays Bernie at Weekend at Bernie's played dual roles in this episode.
So they really maximize the acting capabilities of someone whose most famous role is playing a dancing corpse.
So
yes.
Let's see. We got this one is Trevette up front in center with Crazy Boat Racing. This is Behind the Badge.
So this was our first kind of like Trevette centric episode that really kind of showcased Trevette. Walker was doing all the fun stuff off camera, and Trevette, like the whole joke of the show was that, oh well, nothing cool happens while Trevette's around.
I don't know where they got the footage for the boat canal races or chases. That was an absolutely bonkers chase scene. I loved that. I really, really appreciated that.
I love the first 2 minutes of it, but
yeah,
it did go on for a while.
Yeah, it did. Also, boy, Chuck's mullet was in full force that episode. What season was this?
This is season 4. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, prime mullet for
that
sure.
Was a power mullet for sure.
Yeah. And this one, I mean, look, you packed on the film crew, the crazy camera lady who's falling around, Trevette, and you got Trevette's puzzled look because that's pretty much what he wears the whole episode. And then there was this random dirt bike scene that apparently that's the main villain of the show, but he has absolutely no lines. And then he does like this dirt bike jump that lasts for like 5 seconds of air, and then he totally
might as well
it.
have been waving across the jump.
Oh man, that was definitely my favorite part of the episode because they get this crazy like stunt guy to like do this insane jump over a canal. Like he's got some legit hang time, right? And then the guy does not stick the landing at all.
He eats it so hard.
Like that stunt guy, he's not getting up for a while.
My gosh.
But it's okay. We don't see it because they clip away. Once again, imagination here.
Right.
Oh, he made it.
Yeah, he just
Totally
bounced right
made
back up.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Trevette's boat chase, vehicular transference, boat to boat. Excellent.
That was choice.
Oh yeah, the next one is one of my personal favorite episodes. To this point, it's the only 10 I've given an episode, and this was End Run.
This is so fantastic. The sort of James Bond hallmarks that they put in this episode are just too fantastic.
Yeah, Walker is like Superman and James Bond, and
I mean, he was pulling guys into the tree like he was the alien from the Predator. It was just so crazy. Oh, that was one of my favorite episodes for sure. At least thus far. We're 15 episodes in? How many episodes we have left?
Oh, a good amount.
I mean, this one was early enough where, Walker, the show itself, hadn't really established the lore enough. So it was just piling it on. And then it had, like, exposition from Trevette saying, like, I don't want to be anyone out there getting tracked down by Walker right now because he's going to, like, own them. So it's just, like, completely over the top. This next one, I think, is... you were saying coming into this whole process, you had no idea you'd be getting so familiar with Chuck Norris's facial features and everything. Did you ever think you would do a comic book illustration of Gary Busey?
Not Gary Busey facing off against Chuck Norris.
This is, of course, a special witness.
Oh, that was such a delicious episode. Now, if I remember correctly, I don't remember what year this episode came out.
Late
Season
90s
7.
probably. Yeah. Late
so
90s.
I don't know if this was pre-motorcycle accident or post-motorcycle accident for Gary Busey. He seemed a bit more lucid in his acting choices.
Yeah.
The mob hitman drinking milk.
It was a nice touch.
I don't know who wrote that episode, but thank you. Thank you for doing that for me.
I feel like he probably added that in. I think that was his flourish.
Yeah. It's good for your teeth.
He's got a set. So.
He does have a set of chompers.
Yes, he does.
This next episode is our highest rated episode so far, and my personal favorite for sure, Blown Apart. This villain is just so maniacal. Max Gale, he's a mad bomber, and your illustration perfectly captures this episode. The guy's crazy eye, his like Kramer hair, and and the moment he holds the finger out just extended like he's gonna press the button on his remote detonator for the bomb.
The overacting that took place, and nobody said no. Nobody stopped him. They went, oh, that's good. Go for it. Just take your time, taking your index finger and plunging it into the remote control. Go for it.
I don't think they told this guy that he was acting. I think they set it up such that like every time he pushed the button, an actual explosion went off. He thought he was doing it.
Oh my gosh. Evan, I think you're right.
It's the only explanation.
And the whole reason he's like blowing up stuff is because he's mad that, he can't get back with his family. And then on a dime, he's like, well, I guess I'm going to kill my daughter too.
Yeah, this one was really over the top. I also like on this illustration, I think that Walker, his stare is eerily reminiscent of Falcor, the luck dragon.
I can only hope I did it justice.
Absolutely.
I think they must have spent like half of the budget for the season in explosions
on this episode.
For this episode, wasn't it?
Yeah, they blew up a neighborhood. It was intense.
Literally, they did actually blow up the neighborhood.
Yeah. I mean, this was the season premiere of season 4. Yeah. So,
and we found some bonus like behind the scene footage of them actually filming this, and they literally blew up a neighborhood. So we've got links to that on this episode page. The page for Blown Apart on roundhouseroulette.com. But it's pretty interesting to see him do it. In fact, they had Chuck Norris's stunt double and Chuck Norris run in 2 different directions, both wearing the same denim jacket and hat and stuff, so that they could get the shot from different angles because they could only blow up the neighborhood once.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Hope you don't trip at the wrong moment.
No kidding. Like one of the reporters was like, he was kind of joking with Chuck Norris, like, man, you're actually going to do this? You have a stunt double. And then Chuck Norris kind of explained, well, we need to get multiple angles. Kind of interesting.
This was pre-hip replacement Chuck Norris.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, this next Walkerstration is from the episode Winds of Change, which is the 4-part series that we watched from season 9. This image is one of my favorites that you've done. Unbelievable, man.
Well, I mean, they set him up, I knock him down. That's just how this works. But they're basically swinging into the side of a building on fishing line. Bravo, guys. Bravo.
It was a true Batman and Robin moment here.
It really is.
Yeah.
Once again,
special.
No stunt doubles here.
Yeah. Oh, no, of course not. Yeah.
No.
So the illustration has Walker and Trevette swinging through a glass window, which in the episode is like the 20th floor of a high-rise building, and they're swinging from a helicopter, and they just happen to get into the right conference room that the bad guys are holding some senators hostage.
And let's not think about the physics of trying to swing from a helicopter. Let's also just think about like where the helicopter would have to be positioned for them to be able to do that.
The blades would have broken the glass.
Which maybe it did on the floor above. We don't know.
Okay.
This next one features quite prominently, I think, one of Adam's favorite characters, not only in Walker, Texas Ranger, but also as an actor and would-be activist, I guess. This is Lazarus.
Lazarus was an amazing assassin. And I think we kind of made an exception on this illustration because that first part of this 4-part arc was so amazing with the helicopter swing. We knew we had to kind of, showcase Lazarus in some way. And as you can see from Adam's illustration, it's after he survived the boat explosion. So he's got the scars on his face. But he's thinking back on the amazing montage from the previous episode where he just offed like 4 people in the most amazing Walker montage we've seen so far.
I have a special place in my heart for martial arts and martial arts, performance in TV and movies. And Adam, I think you reached out to the actor that played Lazarus.
Yeah.
On Facebook and got a good response from him.
Oh yeah, he was honored that you portrayed him in illustration for him.
Oh, bless my heart.
Yeah.
But honestly, this guy's legit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
This guy was legit.
Actually
did great floor springs off the ground to get back up. I was really impressed by his performance. And usually you don't get that kind of caliber out of like the 80s and 90s fight sequences on TV.
Yeah.
Like you were lucky if you got him like in movies. I was really impressed.
Yeah, this guy, he studies Chun Kuk Do, which is Chuck Norris's school of martial arts. We're pretty sure that's how he had the connection to this episode and to working with Chuck Norris.
He and his brother are in the Mulan movie that just came out, and he did some choreography for that as well. So,
wow!
I still need to watch that, but I might wait until it's not $80.
Thank you, Disney Plus.
Moving on to the next part of the 4-part arc, the 3rd episode of that. You brought in the main villain from this arc, the chairman, and his lackey, the wizard.
That's the chairman.
Oh, excuse me. And there's an extreme hack-off in this episode between Walker's How would you describe Buzz, Evan?
Tech support?
Jailbird Geek Squad.
Jailbird Geek Squad.
Yes.
Well, they essentially hack an airplane in this episode, and it's Walker's hacker versus the chairman's hacker, and it's nerd on nerd hack off, and it was just riveting TV. Watching the dials on a playing console for about 20 minutes was riveting.
I'm pretty sure that's where the key demographic to this episode just gets up and gets some more chips.
Exactly. If anybody wanted to know what 4D chess looks like, well, I mean, this isn't the episode. We'll get to that, but this isn't it.
We took a little break after that one. Maybe it was the long flight. Maybe is what made us take the break. But we ventured into Chuck Norris's movies, which I'm sure we'll have to go back to. But we braved the movie Top Dog, where it's like Starsky and Hutch, Turner and Hooch, Chuck Norris version. And I noticed looking for like pictures, they never really had like a good image of Chuck Norris with the dog. Not even in the movie, there wasn't like an action shot.
What's wrong, Chuck? Do you hate dogs? Jeez.
Sure seems like it.
I'll take you to the pound, you mangy mutt.
Evan, I gotta say, I died laughing when you were like, you know what? Sometimes you're gonna get outacted by a dog. And by God, I watched this thing and he did. I was crying the whole way through. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. This
Poor
movie,
Chuck Norris.
Yeah, it's a brutal movie. I didn't even think that your pet characters came in handy in this, right?
Oh, thank God I've been doing him.
I mean, you've been training for this Top Dog poster for a while.
For this Miami Vice-esque moment, yes.
Our next Walkerstration comes from the stunning conclusion of the Chairman saga, the 4-part arc. In this, we kind of get some party in the back action from Chuck Norris, do we not?
At some point we had to.
There's a serious neck warmer going on.
Has he ever worn anything but a collared shirt in any of these episodes?
Occasionally no shirt at all.
Yeah.
Well, there's that. That's true.
Sometimes he'll just wear a t-shirt, but it's usually one of those t-shirts that's got like an embroidered logo on the upper left-hand side with like a pocket. It's not just like a casual t-shirt.
Yeah, it's rare. That's a rarity. This one, though, we get prime party in the back action from Walker as he confronts the chairman in the final battle of this episode entitled Retribution. And of course, if you're a bad guy and you're looking into who your competition is, i.e., Walker, Texas Ranger, you're going to go for the love of his life, Alex Cahill. And you're going to kidnap her. You're going to bind her, and you're going to put a bomb on her lap. And you're going to wait for Walker. And then when Walker gets there, you're going to say, Walker, I've been waiting for you. I've been planning this out for a long time. I'm a criminal mastermind. This is the 4th episode I've been in. I'm that hard to catch. Here's my plan.
Now I'm going to poke the bear.
You're here. I've got your girlfriend bound with a bomb, and there's only 15 seconds left. Are you going to save her, or are you going to come after me? That's my plan.
Spoiler alert, the answer is both.
I mean, come on.
That is Michael Ironsides, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I know him best from Total Recall, where he plays pretty much the same character.
I remember him from The Next Karate Kid.
Ah.
Yeah, deep cuts. That guy has... Man, if you want a bad guy, get Michael Ironside. He is
I just
the best.
Rewatched 1, 2, and 3 of The Karate Kid, and I was wondering if I should even watch The Next Karate Kid. I mean, I think I should. I need to do it, especially if he's in it now. I was amazed that in Karate Kid 2, Clarence Gilliard, i.e. Trevette, is in that. Wow. He's a GI.
You just blew my mind. What?
He's chopping ice with his hands in the bar when they're doing that. He's like the American GI who's doing it.
That fails?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to do with this information.
Yeah. Since this last illustration kind of fell into the Walker trope of Alex Cahill getting kidnapped and bound with a bomb, which we'd already seen previously in another episode. So I can only imagine how many times that happens. It's kind of like, we're going to kidnap her, and then when they want to amp it up, they throw a bomb into the situation too. Well, this next one, we thought, hey, if we're going to do an illustration back to back and have Alex in it, let's kind of showcase some of her strength here. Because in this episode entitled The Soul of Winter, it's Walker versus the Nazis, essentially.
Again.
Yeah. Alex literally punches a Nazi at the end, which was pretty badass. You captured that here in epic form.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I hope it was also clear that God put out the burning cross.
He did. Yeah. Quite the episode. Also, little cameo from Colin Ray, the country star. If you're into that kind of thing, seeing Nazis get beat up.
Seen some really bad dancing.
Yeah. White dancing. Unbelievable.
White dancing, yes.
Yeah.
1 and 3 clapping. Yeah.
Well, this next episode, Walker went back to school, and this one was called Devil's Turf. And Walker goes undercover as a substitute teacher, and it also stars the actor who portrayed Flash Gordon as the main villain. I wasn't sure what scene you should do, and you managed to get both those guys in it, which needed to happen. And document the Devil's Gym.
A great sign.
Yes.
As well as, a little bit of drug awareness.
Little creative license there, since that was the guy that was tracking down children for drug payment in the middle of a high school. I love this show.
Once again, I mean, these shows, they not only do they require a bit of imagination from the viewer, but also they need you to understand that they've only got 40 minutes to tell a story, so things escalate hella quick.
Yeah, which is awesome.
And like within a period of like 48 hours, this guy went from like sort of fringe peddling drugs to teenagers to tracking 2 of them down in the basement of a high school with the sole intent of murdering them.
Murdering them.
Yep. Epic.
It's okay, though. They're friends with Walker, so they were all right.
We had another guest star, Danny Trejo, in the next episode, which was quite the surprise.
An unusual role for him.
Yeah.
In this episode. He was the bad guy turned straight and narrow.
Yeah.
Guy.
Redeemed.
Yeah.
You really captured that. There's like a villain in this episode that's kind of like they hide his identity. I kind of think like to maybe make the episode more interesting, but the reveal is so like lackluster that you're like, why did you guys even try to hide the identity of this person? We kind of knew it was up the whole time.
We saw the train coming on the tracks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But you've got his silhouette from the beginning when he's like instructing the bank heist. That's on one side. And then you've got Danny Trejo's character in between Walker and Trevette in the standoff at the end where he sacrifices himself. Spoiler alert. I know you got, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, guys. Where he sacrifices himself to save his son. And that's one way to get back into your estranged son's good graces.
Well, he kind of needlessly jumps in front of a bullet there. There was kind of no point to it.
Well,
but
I mean, the plot demanded it.
That's true. That's it. You got it.
Yeah, so you capture that awesome, and you've got Walker and Trevette in the background, action mode. Epic, dude. This next episode is one that we just dropped this week.
It's the episode that keeps on giving.
Sure does, man.
Yeah, man.
Wow. It was another Trevette-centric episode where his crazy ex-girlfriend came back. Was she the angel of death? That's what they said.
Yeah, she's the angel of death, man.
Unbelievable. But there's one point where like Walker gives Trevette counsel and he's kind of like, Walker, what should I do? Walker's like, oh, you should just, relax for a minute and it will come to you. And the way that like The Trevette, you know how he blows off steam? He goes and shoots hoops by himself, obviously.
Yeah. And an enormous sweatsuit, like 8 sizes too large. Like he specifically had to walk into the big and tall to get the sweatsuit.
MC Hammer has nothing on Trevette in this episode.
No, not at all. But yeah, awesome illustration here. Our last one, this episode isn't out yet. It's
This episode hurt me.
This is Rainbow Warrior, the episode, season 3, episode 6. And yeah, it dives into Walker's Native American heritage. And yeah, he kind of falls back into some old traditions, which is pretty amazing.
He does it all. He burns a cedar smudge. He meditates in front of a fire. He communicates with animals and walks across hot coals. I mean, if that's not Native American culture summed up in 40 minutes, I don't know what is.
The bed of coals was independent of the fire.
Yeah.
Did he just set it up so that he could walk across the coals?
Yeah, well, in the scene prior when he sends Trevette home, he's like building 2 separate fires. And one of them, I guess, in retrospect, was for the bed of coals. So you'd think there'd be a conversation at some point. Trevette's like, why are you creating 2 fires?
Oh, you'd think.
Which I guess, maybe that got lost on the cutting room floor. I would have loved to have been there for it, though.
But Adam's Walkerstration here, he's got the Rambo bandana. That he's like, I mean, once Walker goes with the Rambo style, you're just like, oh, I'm all in. But he also he's shirtless, so he just was like, you know what, I'm gonna sit by the fire shirtless and communicate with my Native American ancestors and his quote unquote blood brother. And then a helicopter comes and lays fire down on him while he's meditating. And you've captured this perfectly.
This episode, I felt so limited because there was so much batshit crazy things.
Yeah, I think
happening.
I think I just said have fun with this one.
Well, you just got to go for it. You just got to pick something and go because you can't lose.
So do you do these in a digital medium, right?
So for everything except this last one, I have done digital pencils, traditional inking. And then I'll bring it in and kind of clean it up a little bit. But everything is traditional inking, pretty much.
So for me, the layperson, what does that mean?
That means that I will sketch out the layout in a digital art program. And I'll print that off. And then I use my Lightbox to trace over the layout with traditional inks. Then I'll scan that back in.
Oh, cool.
And then kind of clean up any dust smudges or anything like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then provide the beautiful rendition to you, the audience.
The finalized Walkerstration.
Yeah.
Ready for the nation.
You bet.
Well, I know for us this has been great fun. I don't know about the people listening, but, we're doing a podcast on Walker, Texas Ranger. When has it ever been for the listener?
Oh, guys, this is so much fun.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for hanging.
Weirdly, this is the most social contact I've had in like 7 months. So, thanks, guys.
Well, we've really enjoyed the creative process that's come out of your isolation. So
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.
Oh, dude, thanks for hanging, man. Yeah,
absolutely. Anytime.
Well, thanks everyone else who's listening, I guess, for joining us. On this special edition of Roundhouse Roulette. As always, let us know what you thought on Facebook and Instagram at Roundhouse Roulette and on Twitter at Roundhouse Pod. And be sure to rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts. And until next week,
may the eyes of the Ranger be upon you. When you're in Texas, look behind you. Oh, 'cause that's where the Ranger's gonna be.